And there's so many
Right.
times you have it and it's a giant letdown, and then you bought the whole bottle, and now you got a giant bottle of letdown that you didn't get a chance to even taste before, and, you know, you blew all this money, as opposed to going out, trying your stuff, which, you know, I love that you're going to these Total Wines and other places and sampling it and actually talking to these people. But, you know, and the fact that you're keeping it under a certain price so that people aren't priced out of a fantastic bourbon is amazing. Because, like you said, you're not doing it for yourself. You're not doing it to get rich. You're doing it to help other people. And you can't help other people if you're taking it out of a price range to where they can enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that, I mean, that's as sincere as I can say it, you know, but, when I've done tastings for some of the local whiskey clubs and bourbon clubs, generally the agreement is, you know, $0 to $50. You can get any kind of decent bourbon you want. You can mix it, do whatever you want. 50 to 100, you get the nicer ones. Over $100, it's strictly rarity or cachet, or I got one and you don't, you know, but it's nothing to do with flavor, right? I mean, that's a lot of the whiskey clubs will even agree with me. I say, you know, our bourbon's around, you know, $60 to $75 a bottle, and they go, no big deal. We'll all go buy one. That's reasonable, you know. I spend that all day long, you know, so it's all good.
That's awesome. Now, when you've been out with these, tasting it and really bringing it to the people, what are some really good interactions that you normally get from, like, I mean, you kind of touched on it earlier about telling the story within 30 seconds, and then they really enjoy the fact that they did sit around for the last 30 seconds to listen to your story. I imagine you're getting so many interactions like that with people.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, one couple came up to me about a year ago and they said, our son is a Navy fighter pilot. Would you autograph the bottle? I said, of course I'll autograph the bottle. I said, can you put down his call sign on the bottle? I said, yeah, you bet. So I put down his call sign on the bottle. So I thought that was really cool, you know, or
that's awesome.
Someone said, my friend is a staff sergeant just retired from the Marine Corps after 25 years. Would you write, you know, to Gunny Sergeant or to Staff Sergeant so-and-so and sign the bottle? I said, absolutely. You bet I will. You know, of course. And, you know, tell him thank you for me, for everything he's done for us. So yeah, whatever you want, I'll write on the bottle. It's no big deal. I've had people's nicknames. I've had, you know, call sign on fighter pilots, you know, for F-14. So yeah, whatever you want. Yeah.
That's
all
really
good.
Awesome. Now, I noticed in your merchandise that you guys also include rash guards. What's y'all's connection to jiu-jitsu?
So Joe, my partner, is into jiu-jitsu in Florida.
Gotcha.
That's where he started that. So we're revamping the web store. I want to do more. We originally had a different website where we fulfilled merchandise directly, and I'm in the process of changing that over. We're going to use a service where, because I did a podcast 2 weeks ago with another Army veteran, and I love the guy, and he said, you want a t-shirt? Sure. He says, I'm a 5XL. It's like, I don't have any 5XLs in stock, you know? I got to order them. And so, you know, to order them 5 or 10 or 20 at a time is, you know, not cost effective. But if I could send my logos to a third party service, and then we're going to revamp it so you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, you know, on a one-off basis, and they fulfill it directly. You know, we just make a few dollars profit off of that, you know, but they fulfill everything and just send us, you know, the difference, then that's great. So that way I can get out of the tchotchkes fulfillment business and stick to my, what I know best is making bourbon.
There we go. Yeah, that whole, when you're doing a business this way, you have to almost not have different brains, but like the way you split your time is like, all right, how much time am I actually going to spend on, like you said, the merchandise, the tchotchke side of it, and then how much am I actually going to spend on what's going inside these bottles and making sure everything's good on that end? Because, you know, we've all seen the Jack Daniel shirts, all the other random alcohol shirts that people have seen throughout the years. And a lot of times they're just like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But it doesn't really, at the end of the day, like no one's like, oh man, have you seen the newest Big Stick Bourbon shirt? Like, no, that's not usually not a thing.
Yeah.
They're not like, have you tried this Big Stick? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And now that we're doing tastings now going on 4 years in a row, myself, my wife and daughter help out, and I've got about 6 other brand ambassadors around the state so far. You know, they're starting to call me and say, hey, this guy came in and he bought a bottle 2 months ago, and he bought another one for him and his friend, and especially for the holidays, people are buying them for all kinds of gifts for the holidays and white elephant gifts and you name it. And once they hear we're veteran owned and we do this, it's like, boom, you're done, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had people come back to me in the stores and say, oh man, I got a bottle of your bourbon already. It's great. I'm not quite out yet. I'll be back in another couple of weeks. But yeah, sure. You know, I'm looking for something else for a friend. You know, they want a different brand. It's like, cool, but you know, it's all good. It's all good. You know, we're getting a lot of feedback and a lot of repeat customers now, which is, you know, the key to success.
Yes. Yeah, obviously, because the word of mouth is your biggest advertising you can get.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a gimmick or a flash in the pan and everybody buys the first bottle and they say, it's okay, but I'm not going to buy another one because then you're toast, right? Our quality is our quality, and that's what I want to lead with. And then all the military issues and the charities that make you feel good, it's great. But, you know, that at the end of the day, the primary reason is they're buying a great product.
Mm-hmm. Now, you touched on that you're kind of aging your bourbons like a wine. Have you tasted your bourbons throughout the years to try to see, you know, how much better it's getting over the years?
It's incredible. So what I will tell people is that, again, you know, the engineer in me kicks in. It's not the marketeer person, right? But the stick is only so big. It only has so much resin in it. And so me personally, I think probably after 6 months to a year, it probably tapers off. You know, You'll get, you know, the 80-20 rule, probably 80%, the maximum enhanced flavor, if you will occur in the first several months, 2, 3, 4 months. And then, you know, by 6 to 9 months, it starts to taper off. But yeah, no, we have done that. But again, see, it's not like a barrel. It's sealed in glass, right?
Right.
So in a wooden barrel, forever, it's going to sit there and a portion is going to evaporate. So yes, it will change forever. That doesn't always mean it'll change for the good. It just means it will change, right?
Right.
So when we seal it, whatever's in there is in there. It's just a question of how much of the stick will be infused in the alcohol over time. Right? It's a different concept.
Right. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that when you mentioned that it's you know.
Oh yeah, a lot of people ask. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Now, your Instagram also shows quite a bit of cocktails that you can make with these as well. And what is kind of one of your favorite cocktails that you guys have kind of come up with?
So, we first got started 4 some odd years ago. Okay, maybe it's luck of the Irish. Great timing here. We had we had a 5-star Japanese restaurant here in Katy pick up our bourbon, delivered 2 bottles to them, literally 2 weeks before COVID.
Oh.
So before COVID shut. So we came up with, I may still have some videos out there. Came up with some videos at the restaurant thanking everybody. I think the first one was like Valentine's Day, you know, and then literally the country shut down March 1st, right? So we did a samurai stick. And it's a twist on an old fashioned, which honestly, I think that's my favorite. I do love old fashions or Manhattans. Traditionally, obviously, you just put it over ice or drink it straight with a nicer bourbon. But if you're going to do something like this, what you do with the samurai stick is you take, instead of simple syrup, it's a cup of turbinado sugar and a cup of water, and you make that, heat that up, and then you add 4, 5, or 6 teaspoons of black tea. So it's either Russian or Japanese black tea, and you infuse it with that. Then obviously you strain it, cool it off, and then when you go to mix that, you mix that in place of the simple syrup for an old-fashioned. So it's roughly 2 ounces of bourbon, 1 or so ounces of the black tea syrup, and then some bitters. And that's phenomenal. That's just lights out. Awesome cocktail.
Interesting. Yeah, that does sound really good. I'm going to have to check that one out.
So make samurai stick. If you want to do a Sicilian stick, same kind of a thing, but you would use a Verna or Italian Amaro, A-M-A-R-O liqueur, which is an Italian herbal liqueur. And you could do something like that, maybe put a little dash of vanilla in there or a dash of bitters, same kind of a thing, for the little Italian twist on it. So, but something to do with twist or a unique spin on an old fashioned is usually the best way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, old fashioned. I mean, it's in the name old, but it's such a classic recipe that anytime you can kind of do any little twist to it, it usually always makes it just that much better.
Right, right. So for me personally, you know, and again, everybody's palate's different. In my humble opinion, it's the samurai stick. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, that does sound fantastic. I'm gonna have to check that out.
So, well,
Now,
the reason too is that, you know, we've got the stick, we've got the char. It's
mhm.
not overly oaky, which is another question. It's not overly or underflavored because of the surface area ratio issue. But it is 95, and that also holds up well when you mix it. As being a 95 proof, you can still taste it even though you dilute it with ice or syrup or etc. You know, kind of a thing.
Right. Interesting. Now, you're a self-described geek about things. What's something you learned most through this whole process that took you down other rabbit holes that you didn't imagine you were going to go down?
Geez. The science and the chemistry, I think, in the bottle matters a whole lot more than I thought it did. We were surprised. When I first started, I mean, geek that I am, not only did I research all this on the internet, but I said, okay, well, again, I'm not going to just throw something out there as a gimmick and hope it sells because I don't want to do this. If we're not world class, first class, we don't stand a chance because there's billion-dollar companies out there. They can make up a new label overnight and flood the market with 10,000 cases, right? And just
Mm-hmm.
drown us in advertising. We'll never stand a chance. We'll never get shelf space. Retail is still very, very difficult. So I said, you know, if I can't make a world-class, first-class product, so I said the only way to do that is just to do some serious experimentation. So I literally went on Amazon. I bought a bunch of bottles. I bought a bunch of test tubes and beakers and chemistry kits and just, you know, I sat in my house like the mad scientist. I researched, you know, the top 10 or 20 bourbons in the world and all the mash bills and did some mixing and kept a logbook and, you know, aged them for, you know, 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, you know, 10, 12 weeks to see what happened and changed. And do I add anything to it? You know, like, do I make it into, a flavored cocktail? And the answer is no. You know, you don't add anything to it because you want it to be pure bourbon, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
what happens if you put some, you know, you make a cocktail and you put too much cherry juice in it? Oh, tastes like cough syrup. Don't want to do that, you know, kind of a
Right.
thing. So it's very careful. You have to be very careful about the mixology even after the fact if you've made this. And what it turned out is that really I was shocked, and everybody was shocked, that after, you know, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, the color and the flavor changed so much that you can't tell what it is today versus what it was when it started. It's like a totally different product. You know, and people have tried to guess what the mash bill is, and I'll tell you in advance, we don't tell you, it's a secret. I can guess it. It's like, okay, try. And I just say, nope, that's not it. I'm going to say, you know, sorry, I'm not going to tell you because, you know, it's got this, it's got that. It's like, I'm not telling you. I want you to like it because you like it. I don't want you to like it because it's got a certain chemistry profile because I've had 100 people, 1,000 people in tastings. Literally, I've done 1,000 tastings. And everybody tells me something different. Some people say it's spicy. Some people say it's sweet. Some people say they can taste the oak. Some people say it's not very oaky at all. You know, and some people say, I taste black cherry. I taste strawberries. One lady said, I taste raspberries. You know what? Nobody's wrong. You're all right
Mm.
because it's your palate. It's not my palate. It's
Right.
your palate. And I tell Joe said, you know, as a lawyer, he says, don't lead the witness. Don't tell them what they're supposed to taste. You know, so we're
Yep.
not snobs about this. It's like, taste it, you try it, you like it, please buy it. That's it. You know, if you like it and you're the customer, that's all that matters. I'm happy if you're happy. You know, like I said, I'm a simple
Yeah. I
guy. If
mean,
you like it, great, cool.
yeah. If
Yeah.
not, cool.
It's still cool, yeah. Well, a lot of guys have told me, well, I like the 135 proof. Do you have anything? It's like, no, sir, sorry. You know, I'll be honest with you. You know, for every one bottle of those, I sell, you know, 30 bottles of mine at 95.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the 135 proof, again, you know, they're usually 10 or 20 bucks a bottle more, et cetera. And most folks, you know, can't afford that. It's for the, you know, the connoisseurs that want to collect 20 different bottles. Great. It's America. God bless you. But, you know,
Mm-hmm.
probably not what we're going to do. You know, We may release one in the future as a special one-off, a small run.